Hi there, and welcome to this new multi-part series where I'm building this here. This here is our new dining table, and me and my girlfriend moved houses last year, and we were still rocking a really cheap IKEA style table. So we were looking for something that would last us a lifetime and hopefully host many amazing dinner parties and be a staple piece of furniture in our house for many more years to come. So in this multi-part series, I'm going to break down the entire process from start to finish, how it came about to building this table, and also show you all the challenges, the struggles, and the mistakes that I made along the way, because I made plenty of mistakes. But all in all, I'm really happy with the result. It took, I would say, close to 4 months to make this. And if I would have to put a price tag on it, I would say it would have to be at least $5,000, just because the sheer amount of time and also all the materials that went to it. This top is made of massive solid wood, and just the lumber alone was over €1,000. So yeah, you can imagine how costly such a table is. But I believe it's really one of a kind, it's really unique, and I'm super happy with the way it turned out. The wood I actually got from a friend. It was sort of a trade agreement. I got to use my workshop space to finish a project for quite a long time. And he actually bought this lumber to build his parents a dining table. But then life got in the way. He now has 2 young-born children. So you can imagine how it goes. He was lacking the time and the energy to undertake this project. So in return, he said, well, you let me have your workshop for such a long time, let me repay you back and give you all this lumber. So I'm super grateful for that. The lumber that is used is actually an African hardwood, and it's called ovankol. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but it looks very similar to American walnut. It has like the same color palette and also this flaming top, which I'm a really big fan of. So yeah, sit back and enjoy the series, grab a cup of coffee, and I would say, let's get cracking. I started off this project just like any other by processing the raw material into usable stock material. I decided to work on the tabletop first and determine the rest of the dimensions of the table with that. I had a finite amount of material, so I tried to process it to the best of my abilities and preserve as much of the processed material as possible. When taking on this big project, you should consider a material loss of about 20%, which can also be seen in the background with all the amount of chips that I was creating. I think in total I filled around 8 trash bags full of wood shavings, which was really fun to clean everything up. In addition to that, I was really pushing my machines to the limit simply because of the sheer size of these beams. I was struggling to get the right amount of support and to completely straighten and flatten all the beams out in the end. So I used a combination of different tools. In the beginning you saw me using a router sled to make the first face flat, and now I'm using my jointer and planer combination to finish the job. After that it was a real puzzle trying to figure out the best orientation for the boards, and somehow it was really difficult to get the boards flat over the complete length of the table. After I was satisfied with the orientation, I clamped everything down and I marked the layout of all the boards, and I marked each and every one of them with a little piece of tape so I could find the orientation back later. And then I started with the joinery, using the biscuit joiner, and here I'm making sure with a test piece that all the settings are correct and everything lines up. If you're still watching the video and are enjoying it, please consider leaving a like and maybe subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me to help reach a bigger audience. And also, if you have any suggestions or feedback, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I will make sure to get back to each and every one of them. Thank you! I did not record any footage of the actual glue up, but trust me when I say it was really chaotic and I was running all around the place trying to get glue on everything at the same time and lining up all the biscuits. So here, after the glue up, I come back with a wet rag and clean off all the glue seams. I've learned through experience that it's best to spend a little bit of extra time and effort removing all the glue. And here's a quick tip: if you get your hands covered in glue like I did, grab some wood shavings and just rub them over your fingers, and that quickly and easily removes all the glue stains from your hands. So after removing the clamps and removing all the glue residue, this is what we are left with right now. As you can see, there is still some unevenness on the surface, but I was pretty happy with the result because we still had to process the table and take off all the high spots. In addition, I left the table a little bit oversized, so here you can see me trimming it to the eventual size. And next up, I started working on the recess or the chamfer on the side of the table. I think adding a nice side profile really adds to the look of the table, but since I don't really have a suitable router table or a router with corresponding bit, here you see me using a track saw to make a bevel cut. And I'm using a parallel rail guide system to very accurately set the width of the cut so I can have a nice consistent cut along the whole perimeter of the table, so the seams are all matching nicely. I was not completely happy with the depth of the first cut, so I adjusted the fence a little bit and I came back and make a second cut around half of the width of the table to create a nice chamfer. And my saw blade was not completely deep enough to get through the entire layer, so I came back with a Japanese pull saw and I finished off the cut, and here you see the result that we were left with. And after that was done, followed the long and tedious process of flattening the top. I used a combination of a hand planer, but I quickly gave up, followed by a belt sander and ultimately even an electric planer to flatten the top. And after I was satisfied with the result, I focused on inserting the seat channel. For that I'm using one of my track guides with a 3D printed router guide that can write in the track, and I cut 2 grooves on the exact distance from the seat channel. So here you see me inserting it, and after that I came back with a bigger router bit and I hogged out the material in the center so that the seat channel nicely sits flush with the surface. And here's a quick tip: if you want to cut a slot that's exactly the thickness of your material, you can actually use your reference piece and put it in the side the plunge base of your router and adjust the stop so that it's exactly the thickness of the part that you're trying to mount flush with the surface. And here you can see me cut the groove for the table, which was just done freehand, and I came back with a chisel to clean everything up. The seat channel itself I got from a metal supplier, and it was actually a 6-meter long bar, which I cut down into smaller pieces, and then I drilled 2 holes close to each other and came back with a bunch of files to cut a nice slot hole to mount it to the table. And finally there were some minor touch-ups that I had to do. This part, as you can see, was a little bit torn out, so I used the offcut of the actual plank and I found a little piece that had the exact color palette and I cut off a little strip And I use a marking knife to mark out the exact location of that strip, and I use a tiny router bit and some hand chisels to put it into place. And after that was glued in, I came back with a Japanese flash cut saw to cut off the excess wood that was sticking out from the surface. And I use a little bit of painter's tape to protect the surface against scratches from the saw. And finally, there was one knot hole that I was not completely satisfied with, so I dug a hole there and I made a little plug that I glued into place. And any inconsistencies I filled up with this product called Cellucol, and you mix it with some wood dust and you turn it into like a little gooey substance, which, yeah, since you're using the actual sawdust of the piece itself, completely matches the colors and help you fill in any consistencies. And after that, it was off to finishing. So I'm using a little roller with a very generous amount of oil. Once again, I am using a product called Osmo, and I really slither it in there very generously and let it sit there for roughly 30 minutes before wiping off the excess with a cloth. And I repeated this process 3 times for this finish to get the desired result. So here you can see it was freshly oiled, and it's simply stunning to look at. Under this light, it looked absolutely beautiful, and I'm super stoked with the result. That concludes the first part of this build series. Join me next time where we tackle the metal frame of the table. Thank you so much for watching this first episode, and if you like the progress, please consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me to help this channel grow and reach a bigger audience. So thanks again, and join me next time.